Hello, I'm Sarah, welcome to my channel. I'm a fabric lover and upgrading addict. I sew clothes from scratch and I also take items that are languishing in the back of my wardrobe or thrifted items and upcycle them into something really fabulous. So if you love creative makes, why don't you join me and let's make something fabulous together. Today's project is going to be this gorgeous little crossbody bag. As you can see, made out of beautiful embroidered fabric. It has a zip top with a little tab at the end of the zip and two D-rings attached on webbing to actually attach your crossbody strap. This lovely skirt, which I've already made two bags out of, which is this one you may recognise, and today I'm going to use the last tiny little bits of fabric and make a sling bag. So I'm going to have flowers on the front with the embroidery, and I'm also going to have one at the side on a gusset, and then the back will be plain black. Let's get started. This is the largest part of the embroidery I have left of this skirt, and as you can see, it just fits onto this sling bag pattern that I've made. Now I want to make sure that I have it high enough so that I can actually have a seam allowance. So the seam allowance is going to be there. So I need to make sure that that centre flower is actually high enough or low enough so that I don't actually stitch the flower. So if we just look at what we've got here, so the placement is quite important. So I can just get that out of there, and then I can get the back panel out of the top bit of the canvas there, and then one side panel out of this other little bit of embroidered fabric that I have, and then the lining is going to be this lovely linen fabric with birds and flowers on. I thought that goes quite nicely with it. I'm going to use a sparkly gold zipper with a flower zipper pull, and then gold D-rings to be able to attach a crossbody strap. That's everything collated to make the bag. I will need a little bit of interfacing just for this outer fabric, but I'm not going to use anything too heavy because I do still want it quite slouchy, and this fabric is quite nice and thick, but it'll just give it just a little bit, because it is slightly stretchy, it'll just give it a little bit more stability. Let's get cracking cutting it out. So let's pin the pattern piece. Now I've found the right placement. So that's the main piece cut out. Let's cut out the back section now. Again, pin it on. So that's the back and the front cut out. I'll just show you how I did the pattern placement for the front. So there, so the seam will be coming round here and here. And so we've got the flowers all across the main body of the thing. Pattern placement and things like this is really important, because what you don't want to do is actually lose the beautiful quality of the fabric that you're trying to save. So that's the back and the front cut out. Now let's cut out the gusset. This is the only part I've got left of this embroidery now. So I need to work out where I want the flower to come. So I want the flower to sort of be about here, just on the side of the bag, so it's not too far on the bottom. Now, this isn't long enough, so I can do one of two things. I can either cut it like that and then make the other bottom piece slightly longer and not have the seam in the middle, or have the seam in the middle and have the flower slightly lower than I would have actually liked. I'm going to cut it so that the flower is slightly lower, because when things aren't symmetrical and things aren't cut in the middle, it does worry me a little bit. So that's one of the gussets pinned on. So I can just cut out one side. So again, pin the gusset on and then cut the gusset out. So there's the gusset cut out. I'll show you. We've got a lovely embroidered flower going up through one side, and the other side is then going to be plain. And what I can do is actually just put a little logo badge just on that one side. Now, as you can see, this dress skirt was stretch, so I'm going to put some interfacing on this. Not very heavy interfacing, just quite lightweight, just so that it'll take the stretch of the fabric out a little bit. That needs interfacing cut for the front, the back and the gusset, and then I also need to cut the lining. So that's the lining cut out. I'm going to make an inside pocket as well. So I found this fabric that I had left over from sewing a blouse for my mum. I'm just going to create a small little inside, just a little slot pocket, just to put a key or a credit card or something in. So I just need double thickness. So that'll create just an inside patch pocket, and it goes with the embroidery quite nicely because it's both flowery and similar colours as well. What I do now is to cut the interfacing just for the outer fabric. Then I'll iron the interfacing on, and then we can get started with sewing. The weight is about the weight of a poplin, and it'll just give a little bit of stability just to this stretch sateen fabric that is quite thick in its own right, but obviously it's stretchy, and I want to lose that stretch to a certain extent. So I'm just going to cut the interfacing out of this, which is rigid and solid, then iron it on, and then we can get cracking with the sewing. After assembling the main bag, I'm going to start with the gusset. So right sides together, I'm just going to sew along the bottom there. For bag making, I generally use clips because the fabrics can be a bit thicker, and I've already bent 2 pins today, I think, with this fabric because of the embroidery. So first of all, we're going to sew the gusset together. So sew it, and then I'm going to just top stitch along the bottom there. Do that with the lining as well, because the lining is identically made to the main body. So again, just clips along there and then sew along that bottom gusset seam. I'm going to use my Genome AccuFeed foot, which is like a walking foot, but it's unique to Genome. So I'm going to fit that on the machine now to sew the whole bag. I have my lining piece here. I'm just going to fold it in half just to make sure that I do actually get the pocket in the middle. So there's the centre line of that, and then again centre line of your pocket. So just pinch on the top and bottom, just fold it in half, just make a little pinch, it should crease it, and then you can just line up the creases on the pocket and then just pin the pocket in place, and then you can sew around the 2 sides and the bottom edge just to make a pocket. So just going to sew around, and there's your pocket on your lining complete. The lining and the pocket are constructed, as is the gusset for the lining. We now need to sew the main bodies together before we attach the gussets. So I'm just going to measure the length of the zip I need. Always make it slightly longer. So that's the length of zip I need. And then I'm going to attach the zipper pull. So on the side of my chest of drawers, I have a towel rail, which I just attach the zipper pull. So the bottom of the zipper pull is on the outside and the pull is on the inside. So then you just need to put the bottom of the zip on the outside and the top on towards the hook, and then literally just slide them on like so. The zip is going to be open, so if we slide that towards the open end, basically that will be the open end, and then the closed end I'm going to actually sew and make a little tab just to go on the end of the zip. Cut some fabric just about the width of the zip. I can go slightly wider. It doesn't need to be very long, maybe, how long is this? This is 8 centimetres. That's all you need. So what you're going to do is actually just sew along there and then fold that over and over again and sew top stitch along there. So I've just sewn the tab on now. So if you unfold the tab, so sewn that side, you can see it's nice and neat on this side. But what you need to do is just make a tab. So if we cut this a little bit shorter, so the tab is now about 5 centimeters long, and then fold that over there and that back to actually make a nice neat tab. These sides are going to be sewn into the sides of the bag, so you don't need to worry about that. So I'm just going to basically top stitch along there now, just to secure that back fold. So I'm going to attach the zip. I'm going to attach it to the front first, and I'm going to use clips. I've basically gone 3 centimeters from the end to allow the seam allowance and a bit of breathing space for the actual end of the zip. I've got the zip facing the right side of the fabric. So you can, when you're sewing it in, you can see basically the bottom side of the zip, and then just put clips all the way along. Just be careful when you sew that to get that at a right angle so that it actually disappears into the fabric of the bag. So I'm just going to sew around there. Once you've sewn round and basted it in place, you then need to just cut that off, cut that end off, and then do exactly the same with the lining fabric, right side facing, basically. So the right side facing the bottom of the zip, because it's the inside of the bag. And then you need to sew all the way around here, leaving just a 1 centimeter seam allowance at either end so that you can attach the gusset. You want to just top stitch, so I'm going to use a longer stitch for that. I'm going to go up to 4 mil. So don't start at the end, because you need to obviously sew the gusset in, so you don't want to have a funny seam there. And then pull the lining and the main fabric away from the zip, and then just sew along the side like an edge stitch, just to finish off the zip and make the zip just. So there we have just a top stitch just all the way along the edge. So you do exactly the same with the back, and then you've got the. I'm going to just make the tabs to attach the D-rings so that you're able to attach your crossbody handle strap. So I'm just using a bit of webbing. It's about 9 centimeters long. Just thread your D-ring through it. I'm going to base stitch shut before I actually sew it to the gusset. So you need 2, one either side, obviously. Again, I'm just going to baste a few rows of stitching just to actually ensure that that's secure before I attach it to the actual gusset. Then once you've made the D-rings and attached the webbing, what you need to do is just attach that by basting just along the top of the gusset. So that one on that side, and then the other one on that side. So let's just attach those now. Next you have to sew the gusset on. So just take the front section, fold it in half, the middle at the bottom, mark the middle at the bottom. So I'm just going to cut a tiny little V, which you can't really see until you open it out, and then you can. So exactly the same on the back sections and both the linings as well. Do them all separately so that you can get an accurate in the centre. Little tiny just nick there, and do the same on the lining. So I do the outer first, I'm going to do the front. Now I need to decide which side I want the flowers on. So I'm going to have them on this side. So I need to line up that centre seam with the nick that I've made in the centre, and then just pin this all the way, or clip this all the way around, easing the curve in as you go. right to the top. And do the same around the other side. And then you're going to stitch that all the way around and then do exactly the same, lining up the middle of the back, and do the same around the back. Make sure you leave the zip open so that you can actually turn it inside out though. I need to put the lining gusset in as well. So do exactly the same process. So the bag's all finished. I've sewn the lining and the outside gusset in, and then sewn up the hole inside for the lining so that we have a fully lined, really cute little sling bag that you just need to attach a handle to now. The back is plain. I also put a little red cat label on there, and obviously we have the flower growing up the other side. So that's the last little bit of fabric from this particular skirt. So I've made 3 bags. So we had 3 opportunities to save this beautiful embroidered fabric. So I hope you enjoyed making this really cute little sling bag. Don't forget to like below if you enjoyed the video, and I'd really love you to subscribe to my channel as well. So if you could click subscribe, that would be fantastic. That allows me to make loads more upcycled projects for you to view. I hope to see you come back to my channel soon to view lots more fabulous upcycles with me.